What's going on, everybody? This is John J Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with the opening week action here of year number 4 of the FCS Dynasty here on NCAA 06, featuring that next mod as well, man, as we start another season of college football here on the channel. We now move into year number 4, where we check out 5 games throughout the country that we will be keeping an eye on. So make sure you go ahead, smack that like button, hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel. As we hop into the very first game that we're going to see in this episode, we got number 4 North Dakota State. They are opening things up against unranked Norfolk State, so should be an interesting game for sure. And right now, getting a surprisingly defensive game. North Dakota State having some struggles in terms of scoring the football, as Jerry Purcell, he won the starting quarterback job out of camp, and he has gotten lit up like a Christmas tree a couple of times. But eventually we will see the first points of season number 4, and it's going to go to Ken Anderson, the junior running back, who will punch it into the end zone, and North Dakota State will get a 7-0 lead. But Norfolk State, man, they are keeping things pretty competitive thus far. Marcel is trying to pick up that first down on the ground. He gets tattooed in the middle of that defense, as we'll see Purcell throw his first career pass as the starting quarterback. And Kevin Cameron is going to get an interception. So, like I said, Norfolk State making this a game so far. They do end up getting a couple of field goals, and all of a sudden, it's just a 1-point game. This is not the North Dakota State squad that we are used to seeing in that regular season. But we got a fumble on the ground. It's going to be recovered by the Bison. We'll see if they can do something with that fumble, as it's still only a 1-point lead going into the 4th quarter. And that is where Ken Anderson is going to take over down the sideline. He does end up getting caught from behind. But with that being said, what we will end up seeing is a 100-yard game from Ken Anderson. He's also got that touchdown as well. We'll see if he can get another touchdown as he tries to run through a defensive lineman. Does end up getting tattooed eventually himself, but he does hang on to that football, gets a decent little gain there, and eventually leads to a goal line situation. 3rd and goal inside the 5-yard line. Purcell under center. He's going to fake it to the fullback. He's going to take it out himself, and Purcell is going to walk it into the end zone. Touchdown, Bison. But they are not going to be out of the woods yet, at least not completely, because Norfolk State, they still have a chance to win this football game. We'll see if we see a comeback here from PJ McNair, the junior quarterback, who drops back. He's got a clean pocket. He's going to throw over to the right-hand side. It's going to be caught. That will get the Spartans out to about the 41-yard line until a certain flag comes out. It is actually going to be an unsportsmanlike conduct that will bring it a 15-yard penalty. So it ends up being essentially net 0 gain. Norfolk State could not do anything else on that drive. So North Dakota State, man, they are actually going to surprise, but a little bit of concerns early on in week number 1, as the Bison do end up winning by a final score of 14-6. A more defensive-minded game than what we were anticipated in seeing, but all things considered, the Bison, they will survive and be 1-0 on the year. So we jump to yet another nationally televised matchup. Eastern Illinois, who comes in ranked number 17 in the country, they will play up against Morgan State, who will be playing their first game in a brand new era. As you know, Dion Kirby did end up getting fired from this school last season. He is now with the Rhode Island Rams. And if Eastern Illinois is going to really open things up, it starts with their star receiver, Ralph Rags. And we'll see what this team can do against a bottom 10 team in the national rankings. But Morgan State, they are going to go ahead. They are going to show some fight early, as Silva, He's going to get a nice run to the outside. That is something that they did not run previously. A little bit more option here at Morgan State. And they turn that into a field goal. Now, Eastern Illinois, they do have a new quarterback as well, Cody Lombom, and he's going to lob one out to his receiver. Massive gain, gets it all the way into the red zone. Huge first down for the Eastern Illinois Panthers, but already seeing an uptick in unsportsmanlike penalties. That's already the second one that we've seen in gameplay alone. That will be a 15-yard penalty. It's going to make it second and long. We'll see if Load Bomb can bring one out deep in their own territory. And sure enough, he goes to that receiver that has that unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. And he's going to more than make up for it. Eastern Illinois, they are going to get their first touchdown of the season. That's going to make it 7-3. And now it's Morgan State's turn to respond. Michael Nash, he's going to send one deep downfield and in double coverage. It somehow manages to get caught. Thrown over the shoulder of Russell Matthews there. What an incredible play that we just witnessed. Wow, that does give Morgan State a chance to go ahead and take the lead. And sure enough, it's going to be deflected away. So not exactly what you wanted to see necessarily. Some great defensive coverage there. You'll see if Eastern Illinois can get themselves a stand. 4th and goal. They are going to go for it. I respect the aggression, and it works out. Morgan State is going to score a touchdown, and they are going to take the lead once again. Pretty back and forth game here early on in this game. We're still in the first quarter. Lob bomb. He's going to throw it out to the right-hand side. He does initially complete this pass, but it gets knocked away at the last moment. It makes it 3rd down. We'll see if they go to Ralph Rags. Backup quarterback in the game, Cody Whittle. He's going to go ahead. He's going to launch one downfield, and it's going to be caught again. Touchdown, Eastern Illinois. And the Panthers will go ahead and take the lead as Corey Lee lets one fly out to his receiver, his guy who knows how to stretch that field. And so for now, Eastern Illinois has the lead, but this Morgan State offense, this passing attack is providing some fits. Again, this is a team constructed by Coach Dion Kirby. This is mostly his players. They know how to pass the football, if anything, but Michael Nash is going to take a sack in the backfield. So that will end up being 3rd and 15 coming up here. We'll go ahead and see what this Morgan State squad is able to dial up. 4 for 7 on 3rd down conversion so far. Nash, he's going to get his guys ready to go. He's going to drop back the pass, facing some little bit of pressure, and gets it out. What a dot. Massive 1st down. That's a great throw by Michael Nash. But unfortunately, the drive looks like it just might stall. It's 4th down. They're going to have to punt this football away. We'll see if they can keep it to a 1-score game. And look at this. The kick is muffed, and Morgan State is going to recover. So, 1st and goal from the 6-yard line. Can Morgan State take the lead? They do. Russell Matthews can't get over in time. And all of a sudden, the Morgan State Bears, ranked in the bottom 10 in the country, they are here, and they have the lead right now. Absolutely insane game right now. Very back and forth game, and a very competitive game that we're seeing right now. I mean, we're not even through 3 quarters of action. We have already seen 3 or 4 lead changes already. It's been truly a spectacle to watch, as we will see Cody Lombom run it into the end zone. That will be a touchdown for the Eastern Illinois Panthers, as we are now looking at a 1-point lead that Morgan State needs to overcome. Going to Jonathan Silva up the middle of the field, and that's a good gain downfield. That's going to raise his yards per carry average up to 4.8. Able to find some ways to, penetrate into the secondary. Following that run, they go back to Silva. No, it's a play action. Looking over the left-hand side. It's going to be caught by the fullback. Is he going to get into the end zone? He doesn't. But Michael Nash is in a serious rhythm right now. He completes 5 consecutive passes, and Morgan State will be able to get another field goal out of it. 2-point lead as of right now. Eastern Illinois in some trouble. We'll see if they can get a spark from their special teams. Has got a fair catch, but that's muffed as well, and that's recovered again by Morgan State. Another red zone opportunity as the Bears have been great down here. Last play of the third quarter, Jonathan Silva, he is going to take the carry upfield, and that's going to go into the end zone. Touchdown, Bears, and Morgan State makes it 30-21. The upset alert bells are certainly ringing, and Eastern Illinois, they desperately need to score, and they're going to need to score quickly. Lobdell's trying to do what he can, but, you know, is it going to be too little too late? That's what I'm curious about, as Eastern Illinois cannot score on that drive either. So here we go. Morgan State, they had a chance to actually run out some clock. That was not a position that I was expecting this Bears football team to be in, but we do have a sack in the backfield that gets them into a more pass-heavy mindset, I would say. So we're looking at that now, and now 1:18 left to play. We might be able to see a late touchdown here. It's just been a great day for this Eastern Illinois receiver. 87. He's been really dominating the field here today. Let me tell you what. But they're going to need to score quickly. 1:05 left to play and counting. They're still going to need the onside kick as well, but they go to the fullback, and the fullback is going to be able to punch it into the end zone. They get the touchdown and the extra point. But it all comes down to this. Can they get the onside kick? This could very well determine the game, and sure enough, it is going to be recovered by Morgan State. And an unbelievable upset is going to finish up here. Morgan State, they get a field goal to get a little bit of style points, and they're going to beat the number 17 team in the nation. Your final score going to be 33-28, and this is absolutely shocking. Just a great performance by Morgan State. They brought their A game here today, and that really goes to show, like that title of that video says, 3 words, baby. Any given Saturday. And that is a perfect example of that. Bottom 10 team in the country just dropped the top 25 team. So we check into what is going to be the game of the week now. We check in on the number 1 team in the entire country. We got Ikeda Woods in his senior season. He is now going into a hostile environment. To start this season, they go out to the bounce house. Even though UCF is not ranked, Georgia Southern is favored. Playing in the bounce house is always a challenge, let me tell you. But they do have a very talented running back in the backfield. Blake Williams, he did stay after Albert Miniachi did go to the NFL. So we'll see what they can do with a great role for him, as Ikeda Woods is going to start things out. He is going to run it downfield. And that is what we're used to seeing from Ikeda Woods, a guy who is able to really put the defense on notice through all of the athleticism that he has. But that being said, though, we will see some defensive laps early on from Georgia Southern. We're going to see a huge play downfield, and while UCF can't score, they got to tie that up. Later on in the game, we'll see a carry from one of your customs, Josephi Krakowski, who takes it to roughly midfield on that play. I mean, nice job on the pitch by Ikeda Woods, as Josephi is able to get good yardage off of that. And drive will still continue, waiting for a team to threaten in. We might have one here, as Blake Williams, he's actually going to get the pitch late, and he's going to run it into the end zone. Touchdown, Georgia Southern. And that is the danger that Ikeda Woods has. Look at how this pitch play goes down. He was bottled up initially, but everyone was paying attention to Ikeda Woods. Blake Williams all by himself took advantage. We'll see if UCF can respond in kind, as they are trying to put together a decent little drive, getting into at least field goal range with this throw. Safety did line him up like a Christmas tree. But a few negative plays later, it's 3rd and 17, trying to throw it out to the right-hand side, but it's going to go nowhere as we see this poor quarterback get absolutely lit up. They do get a field goal there, but we're going to see a little bit of trickerations. Josephi Krakowski trying to take the carry, but it's going to put the football on the ground, though. And unfortunately, we will see UCF recover here. Tough look for Josephi, as he was a guy that hardly saw the field his freshman year. So this is the first time that he has really seen extensive action. A notable section being that national championship game last season. And all of a sudden, 3rd and long. They try to force Ikeda Woods to pass. He wants to scramble, though, but UCF just doing a fantastic job of keeping him contained in that pocket. I don't know if he was trying to get out of the pocket or what he was attempting to do, but it was not working there. And we jump into the second half now. Still a 7-3 game, and we start to see Georgia Southern really exert its will. Blake Williams, he's going to find the end zone for the second time in this game as Georgia Southern, they start to open up that lead a little bit. Great blocking upfield. That does make it 14-3 your score. Looking at the defense now. Can they make a stop? Again, looking to the right-hand side, looking for the big play downfield, and it's going to be actually caught. Marquise Lewis, the true freshman, he deflected it away. And all of a sudden, Sean Walker, who is a first-year starter, could get the first touchdown for the Golden Knights in this game. Walker looks to the left-hand side, but look who comes with the payback. Marquise Lewis, the true freshman. He is going to get the interception, and he will eventually be able to high-step his way into the end zone. And on his first career interception, he's going to take it all the way back to the crib. A memorable moment for that young custom player right there. You absolutely love to see it. And now Georgia Southern holds a 21-3 lead going into the final quarter of play as we see Ikeda Woods going out into the open. Almost finds the end zone. Couldn't quite get it in there, but, you know, it was solid block and just could not get away from that safety. As now, 1st and goal from the 1-yard line. Going again with the option. Ikeda pitches it out to the right-hand side and finds Blake Williams in the end zone again. We got ourselves a hat trick on our hands because that is going to be touchdown number 3. And it's going to be 28-3. But judging by that huge pass play for Sean Walker, that might be right where the Golden Knights, they might have them exactly where they want them right now. As, you know, that 28-3, you understand that meme. Y'all know where that came from now. We'll see if Walker can pull one of those. But it looks like it could be over. So that fat lady might actually be singing after all, as the junior custom DeAndre Dowdell II, he actually, I think he might have slipped a little bit while trying to return that. If he was able to have clean footing, he might have been able to take that to the crib as well. But either way, good victory here for Georgia Southern. The bounce house is always a fun place. It is always rocking, no matter how good or bad this Central Florida football team is. So Georgia Southern, they rose up to the challenge. They rose up to the occasion. They're going to get a big win on the road here. 28-3 is going to be your final score, as particularly in that second half, they look like a team capable of being number 1 in the country. That's for sure. So before we check in on the other FCS games that we have playing in this episode, we'll check in on a couple of FCS first FBS matchups. We start with New Mexico State playing host to Nebraska. The Cornhuskers traveling to the West Coast, and New Mexico State could not hang. Nebraska was able to win convincingly in this one, winning 38-13, a game in which New Mexico State will likely fall out of the top 25. But one team that did find a way to not only beat an FBS squad, but beat an SEC team on the road is the Akron Zips. They were able to go ahead. They beat Auburn 20-19. That's what ends up being your final score. And it was a daring rally for the Akron Zips, who end up scoring 10 unanswered points in the fourth quarter and pull off the shocking upset down in Alabama. So this is a very good win for this Akron football program. Now, we'll check on a couple of other FCS versus FBS games that we have planned in this episode. So let's check in on a couple more FCS versus FBS matchups that we happen to see here in week number 1. And here we'll find some really underrated features about this game. So these games are not televised because they're FCS versus FBS matchups technically. But that being said, that means because it's not a televised game, you won't see any sort of pre-game show right before it happens. It just jumps right into the action for the CPU versus CPU matchups. And I just thought that's a really cool and a really underrated feature that I really hope is in EA college football. And side note, that will never happen at Penn State with all the empty stands. You know, I don't know why that's happening, but you know, it is what it is. But Delaware State, they're playing against Penn State on the road. We'll see if Delaware State can make it competitive. I have no real expectation, actually thinking that Delaware State can actually win this football game, and it shows early on. First possessions for both teams, Penn State able to drive the football down with ease, while Delaware State, they actually had to settle for a 3 and out. So we'll see if Penn State can actually be stopped, but it looks like that's not necessarily happening right now. We will see Alex Zing, a junior custom, go ahead and make the tackle eventually in the secondary, but you know, the fact that they're already getting to that second and third level with relative ease, not necessarily a good look whatsoever, as you know, we're going to continue to run this option downfield, and going to be a broken tackle that leads to another touchdown for the Big Ten power Penn State Nittany Lions. We already got ourselves a 14-0 lead, and how about that fake pitch, man? That is absolutely disgusting. And now Delaware State trying to get back on track, gonna try to throw down the left-hand side. Victor Reyes, he's gonna find a man. He might be able to get into the end zone. An FCS touchdown versus a Power 5 school. No, we're gonna get robbed of that. First and goal from the 3-yard line. No, oh, that was gonna be extremely close. That was a really good route that we did end up witnessing right there. But man, that is tough to see, as Delaware State, they actually do go for it there on 4th down inside the 5-yard line. They don't get it. So it's still a 2-possession game for the time being, as, you know, Victor Reyes, he just continues to be harassed in that backfield in the first quarter of this game. Simply nowhere to go as of right now. As we continue, we'll see if that continues to be the trend as Delaware State faces yet another 3rd down conversion. Victor Reyes trying to make some calls out to the right-hand side. He's got some time in the pocket, but he's going to throw an interception. 15 of Penn State. They are going to pick off Victor Reyes, who continues to just have a really brutal performance as of right now. You can see the difference on the scoreboard. 17-0 is already your score. I'm surprised it's not more lopsided, to be honest with you. But we'll see if they can rally back here, as Delaware State trying to get really just anything going. It's just not happening right now. It leads to another 4th down conversion that needs to be had. Still looking for that first down on the 5th try, and it's not going to happen. Another interception for Victor Reyes. Just threw that up into double coverage. Really tried his best to make anything happen, and that's just not going to work against an FBS caliber defense. But we will see a play made in the secondary, though, from Delaware State. They are able to force a turnover in the second half. So, hey, maybe we might see a reversal of fortunes here moving forward, as that looks like it was originally deflected into the air and does end up getting intercepted. So Delaware State in positive territory, looking to make a play, throwing down the left-hand side, but it's going to be overthrown. It's going to be intercepted. And Delaware State, they were one of the lesser teams in the FCS last year. Definitely showing why they were in that bottom tier, because these mistakes, they just aren't going to cut it. Luckily, they're going up against an FBS team, so this shouldn't affect them too terribly much in the FCS rankings when they do come out towards the end of this episode. But we will see Delaware State find the end zone, though. They will make things a little bit more interesting. A 10-point game, especially if they can get the football back somehow, whether it be a turnover or they can force a fourth down stop of some sorts, because time is not on their side. 122 is that score right now. This quarterback is doing pretty well on top of that, able to thrash this Hornets defense both in the air and in the running game as well, as they'll continue to run down that clock. Less than a minute left to play in this football game, as they'll get it off to the fullback, and the fullback is gonna score a touchdown. And not only that, Alex Zing, the junior custom, he's gonna end up getting hurt as well. Penn State is going to win this game, but it was more competitive than I thought it was going to be. For how dominant Penn State looked in the first few minutes of this game, the fact that they only won by 17. But I'm the head coach of Delaware State, I'm calling that a win. A lot of things that, you can take from this experience moving forward. And now you get to play against competition a little bit closer to your caliber moving forward. So we'll see how Delaware State does as we move through the rest of this season. And best of luck to them, as best of luck to Penn State, who is going to have some big time matchups such as Ohio State and Michigan. So the final matchup that we have here in this episode is yet another FCS versus FBS matchup. Now we have Northeastern. Now Northeastern is led by their quarterback Joe Cool, one of your guys' custom players, which is going to try to get the ball here early, but he drops it. It's a backward pass as well, and Washington State is going to recover the fumble. Bro, you cannot have that right now. You absolutely hate to see it. And now Washington State, they will capitalize off the turnover. So right off the gun, Washington State, they are going to score early. And Washington State, they're known for their offense. This is not exactly a defensive minded school. Most known for their days with Mike Leach as the head coach of this program. He's now over with the Mississippi State Bulldogs. But Washington State able to force a couple of turnovers early. While they missed the extra point, they were able to get yet another fumble on the ground. It looks like that was Joe Cool who were able to steal that football from, and for that being his last name, he is not looking very cool whatsoever, as we're going to need to see Northeastern's defense step up so that this game does not get out of hand real quickly, and that's going to help get a sack, make it 4th and long, which Washington State, they're actually going to go for it here. We'll see what happens. In Northeastern, they were able to garner the sack. It will be a turnover on down, so huge win by the Huskies defense, able to keep them from making it not more than just 6-0, right? So now we'll see Joe Cool go to work, and Joe Cool is actually going to be able to get a pass off. He saw quite a bit of pressure early in this game, but when he's got time, he's able to make some good plays, and we sure saw one right there, a 67-yard passing touchdown. Cool able to roll to his left, kind of throws across his body, which, if you're a quarterback watching this, man, I do not recommend. And yet you're still able to find a way to get that to your receiver. And all of a sudden, Northeastern on the road, they got the lead here, and they're going to build upon this lead as well, as we're going to see a kickoff return down the sideline. There's not going to be any flags either. We get a special teams touchdown on the field, and it's 14-6. So Northeastern with a chance to really establish themselves, trying to pull away from Washington State early, which is, I think, is really critical to do, because as you get more into this game, considering the difference between the talent that Washington State has, for example, and what Northeastern has, that talent on the depth chart is eventually going to matter, no matter how good your coaching is. And now after the first quarter, it was a really good first quarter. Northeastern still has that lead. They're still up 14-6, but again, a couple more sacks already we're starting to see that offensive line getting worn down a little bit. Now we'll see Washington State take over their first possession of the second quarter. And this is going to go for a huge run right down the middle of the field. Call it Main Street. And he is strutting right through it. Touchdown, Cougars. Washington State, with just one play, makes it a 2-point game. And that is just a parting of a Red Sea that we get to see right there. They will end up going for 2. They are not successful. But we will see Washington State find more success throughout this game as we see yet another huge play downfield. That is a first down for the Cougars. And we got first and goal from the 4-yard line all of a sudden, as that was just a nice stop and go. Able to create just enough room for that quarterback to squeeze it right through there. And we got a goal line situation once again in order to take the lead here with about 4 minutes left to play in the first half. Gonna hand it off. He's got a touchdown earlier. Let's make it 2 touchdowns for Washington. No, 3 touchdowns now that I think about it. He's got a hat trick already. We still got a lot more football left to play. So now Joe Cool under center needs to respond and respond quickly. This is looking like a shootout. Cool. He is not going to have enough time to read the defense as we see yet another sack there going to be given up. That offensive line is absolutely being torn apart right now, not handling the rigors of Power 5 football. And Washington State will take the lack of points that Northeastern gets, and they are going to pounce once again. Touchdown, Washington State. We're going to have a 26-14 lead for the Cougars going into halftime. Unless Joe Cool can say something about it, he's going to throw it out to the left-hand side. Triple coverage, and yet still throws it right down in the bucket. Look at this coverage. This coverage was absolutely incredible. Nothing that you could do about it. And getting good protection as well in that throw, led by their left tackle, Robert Gordon, who's also accustomed. As now, Joe Cool is going to roll out to his right, and he's going to throw a missile into the end zone. It's going to be a 46-yard touchdown. Look what Joe Cool does. He rolls out to his right, and he's a left-handed quarterback. That's not an easy thing to do either. And all of a sudden, looking at a 5-point game potentially. Except Washington State, they are going to score once again. Literally right before we go into the halftime locker room. How do you allow this with less than 10 seconds left? This was going to be one of the last plays of the first half, and you still allow them to score. That's crazy. And not only that, Washington State is also going to get the ball to start this second half. So this is really, we're talking about a Top Gun moment, because we are in the danger zone right now. Northeastern, they are fighting to try to stay in this game, but they are really getting shredded on the ground, and that passing game is doing some things to them as well. As we go to another red zone opportunity for the Cougars, they're 3 for 4 on the day. Can Northeastern stop in the red zone? Gonna get it out to the tailback, who's gonna run it in for yet another touchdown that will make it touchdown number 4. Just racking up the scores today. He's looking for that FBS player of the week. And we find ourselves down by 18 at this point. The biggest deficit that Joe Cool has faced so far today. And not going to get a lot of help. That sack is allowed by Robert Gordon. I believe the junior custom, by the way, as just getting bullied on the offensive line now. This is the biggest difference between FCS and, Power 5 college football. It's really those trenches. Really the lethality of the offensive and defensive line. That's really the big difference. We've seen a lot of teams in the country, Cincinnati, back in 2021, they had some really skillful weapons on both sides of the ball. But when it comes down to those trenches, they were outmanned by, that Power 5 team that they played against in the playoff. And that, yes, it was Alabama, but, we're really seeing that difference really play out here, especially in the second half. Because Washington State, they're not even that great of a team. They're pulling away right now. So a 24-point deficit. We'll see if Joe Cool can somehow find a way to make it up. But it's just not Joe Cool's day today. He's just not really having it in him. He's going to get sacked once again. He's going to be marked at the 28. So technically not a sack, but, you know, he was still not necessarily thinking about running the football either. We'll see if they run it here on a 2nd and inches. But instead, they tried to get a little bit cute there to try to throw it quickly. And that's going to be the first turnover of Joe Cool's, day today. Or I should say his night. He has 2 lost fumbles earlier. He now has an interception to his name. And now Washington State, they can make this a 30-point game. And they just might be able to do that. Run that bad boy into the end zone. Touchdown, Washington State. 50 burger is going to be placed on the board. And we will see Washington State win by a final score of 52-28. Northeastern, they will get some points on the board before the end of this game. A little bit of garbage time to make the scoreboard look a little bit better, but no shame in Northeastern losing this game. Is just going to prepare them when they play against competition closer to their caliber. So after the first week of FCS college football, this is what we're looking like in terms of the ESPN magazine. They're going to give some love to Akron here in their 20-19 win over Auburn, although I wouldn't exactly call it growing pains, but we did end up seeing a couple of some changes in the top 25. Let me just put it that way. We'll go ahead and check those out now. Now, the first top 10 initially, not much is going to change here. Georgia Southern remains number 1 in the country. They did end up beating UCF. North Dakota State, they end up at number 4. They're still there after their 1-possession win over Norfolk State. Now, as you look for the rest of this top 10, Akron is still hanging around. 20-19 victory over Auburn. You love to see that, but then we get into the bottom part of this top 25. We see some changes. Montana moves up 1 spot. Weber State, they're under NCAA probation. They're up 1 spot as well. SMU, you could say the same thing. Idaho's up 1. South Carolina State, they move up 1 spot. Same with Utah State. Eastern Michigan is the highest riser this week. They move up to number 23 in the country. And that's because there's 2 new teams in the top 25. Portland State, they get into the top 25. They're now sitting at number 24 in the country. And then Sam Houston State, the Bearkats, they're at number 25. They do get into the top 25 for the first time here in year number 2. And that does mean that Eastern Illinois and New Mexico State, they both get kicked out of the top 25 after both suffered embarrassing losses. Now, as for the Heisman watch, we do still see Ikeda Woods at the top as of right now. He did not complete a single pass. He only attempted 2 passes in the game, but he did run for 109 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Everyone else is still remaining the same for the most part. Got David Thorne. Joey Ward's in here. He was 5 for 9 for 67 yards against Nebraska. And then Jermaine Thomas, we have not seen him yet in this season. That being said, though, we do see a new person on the Heisman watch. It's the junior running back, Blake Williams. Blake Williams, he had a great game, of course, against Central Florida. He had 9 carries for 89 yards, as well as 3 touchdowns. He helped propel the Georgia Southern Eagles to a 25-point win. So, therefore, it is no surprise that we see Blake Williams as the offensive player of the week. The junior running back, like I said, put up some really good stats, and that does propel him onto the Heisman Trophy race. But we do see a true freshman as the defensive player of the week. Marquez Lewis, true freshman, one of your guys' custom players. He ends up as the defensive player of the week here. 28-3 win. He ends up with 2 tackles. Had that interception, and that interception got taken back to the crib, which is not so shabby for a collegiate debut. But guys, that will wrap up today's FCS episode, as we have now officially kicked off year number 4. When we get into week number 2 action, which will be included in the next episode, we will go ahead and see a full week's worth of action. So we will see 8 games that will be on tap. I'm still deciding which of those 8 games that will be shown, so you're going to want to hang tight for that. It's going to be a fun FCS football episode. And if you're excited for it as well, I need you guys to go ahead, smack that like button, hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel. This is John J Gaming on the mic signing off, but I'm hoping you're all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.